and I fail. There's almost no time. No, come on, no! How I ended up here? Let me tell you a story. It was an early Sunday morning and I was minding my own business and playing working for the 69th hour this day to create a new video. Suddenly, out of the blue, I get this message from a friend in Discord, inviting me to take part in a game jam that was about to happen in a week. I thought it would be a terrible idea, so I agreed. For those of you who don't know, a game jam is basically an event that is hosted by some community that unites various game developers to create a playable game on a certain topic in a couple of days' time. This game jam was hosted by Indicator Games, and the task was to create a hyper-casual game about construction or repairs. After the topic had been announced, we had only 72 hours to come up with a fully playable game, which, to be honest, already sounds ridiculous. That also has to be somewhat fun and relevant to the theme. First things first, right after the announcement, we gather in Discord and spend the next 2 hours brainstorming completely random ideas to find that exact one that we could start working on, and
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
So there was a story, myth, legend, you name it, about a Tower of Babel that I thought would really fit cool into this jam. According to the story, a united human race in the generations following the Great Flood, speaking a single language and migrating westwards, comes from the land of Shinar. There, they agree to build a city and a tower tall enough to reach heaven itself. God, observing their city and tower, confounds their speech, so that they can no longer understand each other. So here's how it's gonna work. In the game you have a platform, and in this platform you will have 3 different zones: the red, the green, and the blue, that represent different building areas. You will need to play as a builder and reach each of the zone to construct something there. After you've finished with all the zones on this platform, a new one spawns above it. But here's the catch. Builders are also divided by colors, and since they don't understand each other, according to the legend, they will understand the player's commands differently. If you tell the green one to move forward, it will. However, if you do the same for the red one, it will go backwards, and the blue one, even to the side. And when you thought this is the only problem that you're gonna be dealing with,
but wait, there's more!
There's also a flood, meaning you will need to run as fast as you possibly can. 5 hours into the game jam, I quickly assemble a movement system that depends on the current builder colors, and my friend Vaust creates a random builder and zone spawn, plus construction mechanism when builder reaches a zone with the same color. After machine gun speed coding, Vaust takes a break for the rest of the day 1, and I decide to push even further with actual builder model. Now, I have almost 0 experience in 3D modeling so far, and I know most game developers use Blender to create quick, low-poly models for the game. So without hesitation, I quickly downloaded it and watched Grant Abbott's Blender Basics tutorial. Based on it, I spent 5 more hours trying to scrape together a low-poly character that would be soon running around the level in panic and building random stuff. After almost 12 hours spent in the first day, oh my goodness, I call it a victory and decide to take a break. Okay, day 2 started with a quick sync meeting in Discord where we discussed what features are we gonna implement next. Vaust began working on the flood system so that the water level goes up with a specified rate, and if a builder collides with its surface, lose condition is triggered. Meanwhile, I imported my newly created model into the game and tested out how it looks and plays. Okay, that would perfectly work had our builders been professional ice skating athletes. However, that is not the case, which pushes me to the next logically following feature, animations. Now, I am as experienced in animations as I am in 3D modeling in general, which means taking another crash course YouTube video to learn basics of character rigging.
Blender.
Show me.
Luckily, I finished my animation in the middle of day 2, and after slight tweakings in Unity for an hour or so, I think I had a rather decent running animations for our builders.
Okay, what is actually going on here? What the fuck?
Of course, it wasn't silky smooth, and I had to fix some bugs and make several improvements, such as configuring rotation angle, setting up correct scale, and stuff like that. After that, I could proudly reap the fruits of my labor and play around with these builders to check how the game feels overall halfway into the GameJam. And I think that looks quite decent for a starter.
Can you guys guess the meme here?
Giving you a hint in 5 seconds. Now I had to move on to the next essential graphical part of the game, models of different constructions. I went back to Blender and with all my 2 days knowledge started working on some prefabs. It was not very easy to come up with design ideas because I really needed some examples of this era's architecture, and I was really wondering where I could actually find decent pictures of it. I spent the next 3 or 4 or even 5 hours modeling texturing before prefabs had been completed. So here's what I did. The green one is a set of 4 columns, blue one is sort of a tent where the workers can rest, and the red one was initially meant to be an arc, but later on I decided that it would be actually cool if you could create bridges between platforms to get to the other side of the level. So it became a bridge later on. That was all for day 2. I was completely exhausted and super nervous to finish everything in time the next day. Day 3 also begins with a quick Discord sync call. We decided to finish all of the major features before submission time. I begin working on a set of levels using Unity's plugin called Pro Builder. It allows you to create a tile-style blocky-locky objects that, with certain modifications, turn out to be nicely looking low-poly levels. Before spending a lot of time thinking on actual level design, first thing I did was test if it actually works the way it's meant to be worked. The size is okay, collisions are working, and switching to the next platform upon completion is alright. It worked quite nicely, which meant that I could move on to designing levels by setting building zones on each platform prefab. Now, visually the game looks terrible, I know. I still have a lot to learn about lighting and texturing and stuff like that, but I do believe that water turned out to be quite decent. So let me show you how I did it. I basically used the same Pro Builder's plugin and created a tiled flat block. Then I randomly selected faces of this plane and then, using transform, moved them up and down randomly to create this uneven surface to simulate waves. After that, I smashed a nicely looking seamless water texture and then animated it to look more alive and dynamic. And there we have it, our own cute little flood. Being on a finish line of 2 hours, I finished designing levels, get sand background, create a rain effect using Unity's particle system, and a progress bar to let the player know how many zones are gonna spawn on the current floor. I also created these weird arrows in the UI to let the player know where the builder is actually moving when you try to control it. Meanwhile, Vaust got some nice sounds to the game, and while most of them are quite basic, you can hear this weird and as some of you may know, this comes from Age of Empires 2, Villager Spawn Sound. I decided to record my own version of it and send it to Vaust, but all of a sudden, he did not accept it, and he said, "Man, your sh is too short, and your ha is too shallow," so I had to take several different takes to finally get it right. And I cannot let this knowledge remain unshared with you guys. So,
ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to yet another episode of our vocal excellence lessons called VO.CALL of BUTY. Today we're going to be practicing Age of Empires 2 Villager Spawn Sound, and in order to do this, you will need to follow 3 basic and simple steps. Okay, step 1, your posture. Keep your abs drawn in, keep your chest relaxed. You really want that air flowing through you. Step 2, now imagine you're on a robbery and you're with your partner trying to sneak in undetected. All of a sudden, your partner says, "Hey, have you seen Dazrow's latest juicy video? You should really check that out and give him a like and subscribe." And you reply, "Shh, I already did that." And then it turns out that you're robbing a huge bakery. And there's one giant potato in the oven. So you open it up, grab it and shove it in your mouth. But of course, it is smoldering hot, you silly. So in order to cool it, you go and there you have it. Combine the first and the second part together, and you will get the most perfect Age of Empires 2 villager spawn sound.
Last 15 minutes before submission, in panic I'm trying to beat the game to make sure all bugs are gone and that it is balanced well enough to be considered hyper casual. And I fail. There is almost no time.
No, come on, no!
And in the last 5 minutes, I finally beat our game and rushed to submit it to itch. The deed was done, and now it was time to see the jury struggle. Okay, it turns out that I still made the game too hard for the most players to beat it, and the jury was no exception. However, we still got to the 4th place out of 61 in one of the nominations, which is, to be honest, kinda crazy to think about, considering that this is our first game. Anyway, I've had tons of fun, and I'll definitely do that again, and share with you guys, so subscribe and give this video a like if you actually enjoyed it. I'll leave a link down in the description so you guys could go and check that out, and for now, I'll see ya, or shall I say, shh.